All right, let's talk about a guy you probably think you know, William Shakespeare. People call him all sorts of things, right? The Bard of Avon, the Swan of Avon, but I think the best way to think about him is with a different title, the King Without a Crown.
So let's get right to it. How on earth does a glovemaker's son from some small town become the greatest playwright in the world? I mean, think about that. It's not just about being a good writer. No, this story is about insane ambition, being in the right place at the right time in theater history, and, I don't know, an almost magical understanding of what makes people tick.
And this is where it all began. This house, right here in Stratford-upon-Avon. This is believed to be the very spot where he was born, way back in 1564. Pretty humble, right? You'd never guess that this quiet little place was the starting point for a life that was going to cause a literary earthquake all over the planet.
Okay, let's dive into his early life, because it gives us some really good clues about the man behind the myth. And trust me, things got messy, and they got messy fast.
I mean, look at this timeline. The guy's life was moving at 100 miles an hour. He gets married at just 18 years old to a woman, Anne Hathaway, who's 8 years older than him. Then boom, 3 kids follow pretty quickly, including twins. Right from the get-go, his own life had all the drama he'd later write about.
And, as he got more and more famous, people started giving him these incredible titles. The Bard of Avon, that tied him to his hometown. But then you get the National Poet of England. That's a whole other level. These weren't just cute nicknames. They were basically saying, this guy is English literature.
But let's be real. A small town was never going to be big enough for his ambition. Stratford was just the prologue. The real story, the main event, kicks off when Shakespeare packs his bags and heads to the center of the universe, or at least the center of Elizabethan England, the crazy, chaotic, amazing city of London.
And get this, he didn't just show up as a writer with a stack of scripts. No, he was an actor too. He was right there, on the stage of the legendary Globe Theater. This is so important. He wasn't some stuffy professor writing from a distance. He was in the trenches. He knew the theater, the blood, the sweat, the whole shebang, from the inside out.
And here's the crazy part. People knew he was a genius while he was still alive. This wasn't something historians figured out centuries later. Nope. In 1598, when Shakespeare was still churning out hits, a critic named Francis Mears just came out and said it. This guy is Britain's greatest dramatist. The legend was being built in real time.
So, when we call him a literary giant, what does that actually mean? Well, for one, the sheer amount of work is just mind-boggling. But it's not just about quantity. It's the incredible variety that's just, wow. He basically wrote the rulebook for modern storytelling, and then he tore it up and rewrote it again and again.
37 plays. Just let that number sink in. 37. That's a staggering amount of work for anyone, anytime. But think about it. He was doing this in an age of plagues, of constant political drama, writing with a quill pen by candlelight. And every single one of those plays is its own little universe, packed with characters that feel like they could walk off the page today.
And just look at the range here. The guy wasn't a one-trick pony. He was the whole circus. He could make you cry your eyes out with his tragedies. He could make you laugh and fall in love with his comedies. He basically told England its own story in his histories. And then, just for fun, he practically invented the tragicomedy, mixing humor and heartbreak in a way that nobody had ever seen before.
Okay, but if we only talk about his plays, we're missing like half the picture. Because Shakespeare was also a total game changer as a poet. What he did with the sonnet, just as important as anything he did for the theater.
He wrote 154 of them, 154 sonnets, and each one is like a little perfect 14-line jewel of a poem, tackling the biggest things in life: love, beauty, time, even death.
And he got so good at it, he perfected his own style. We literally call it the Shakespearean sonnet now. The structure itself is brilliant. You got these 3 4-line bits where he sets up a problem or an idea, letting it build and twist, and then bam, he hits you with a final 2-line knockout punch that just changes everything.
So, why does this rhyme scheme matter? Well, this pattern right here, it's like the secret code. It's the engine that gives the poems their rhythm, their musical sound. It's basically a little map that leads you through the poem's logic. So every single sonnet takes you on this complete little emotional trip.
But honestly, his biggest legacy might not be the plays or the poems. It's the words, the actual words. This guy didn't just use the English language, he built it. He invented so many words and phrases that we all use every single day, probably without even realizing they came from him. And a lot of his most famous lines, they come from his darkest plays, his tragedies. They're born in these moments of intense pressure, where his characters are at their breaking point, asking the biggest questions you can possibly ask.
You know this one, from Hamlet. To be or not to be. It might be the most famous line ever written, period. It's just the ultimate expression of human doubt, right? The crushing weight of having to make an impossible choice, all in 6 words.
Then you've got Macbeth, the witches chanting this. Fair is foul and foul is fair. It's so creepy, and it sets the tone for the entire play, basically telling the audience, hang on, everything you think you know about right and wrong is about to get flipped completely upside down.
And this one from Julius Caesar is just brilliant. Cowards die many times before their death. It's such a powerful take on fear, right? That if you're always afraid, you're constantly experiencing a kind of death over and over. But the brave, they only have to face it once.
And how about this one, from The Merchant of Venice? All that glitters is not gold. We still say this all the time. It's become a universal truth. It's a perfect, simple reminder that you can't always trust what you see, which, come to think of it, is a theme in pretty much everything Shakespeare ever wrote.
So, after all those years in London, after completely changing the game in the world of theatre, after a lifetime of just unbelievable creativity, Shakespeare went home. He went back to Stratford, and it was there, right back where he started, that he would write his final chapter.
His last play that he wrote all by himself was The Tempest, and people often call it his Swan Song. It really is. It's this beautiful, magical, almost dreamlike play all about forgiveness and art. It honestly feels like Shakespeare himself standing on stage taking one last final bow. He died in 1616. He was only 52, but here's the thing. His reign never ever ended. Right now, as you're listening to this, his plays are being performed somewhere in the world. So yeah, he never wore a crown of gold or jewels, but his kingdom, it's the entire world of literature, and it makes you wonder, doesn't it? Has any other writer ever built an empire that big, or one that has lasted this long?